Usually coming on the stage is not a very comfortable feeling, but in this environment where you get the opportunity to remove your mask, it is a welcome development. So Minister of Sustainability and the Environment, Ms. Grace Fu, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you and a very warm welcome to today's event. Let me express my gratitude at the very outset to the Minister for her presence here today. It means a lot to all of us at Global Initiatives, to all of us who have won today, this evening. And may I say that your presence is going to inspire us to do more in the field of sustainability. Now, a number of you actually know Global Initiatives, but I thought I'll spend a few minutes just going through our journey, which started many years ago. And perhaps more importantly, I'm going to also share our direction of travel, which is more exciting than perhaps what we've done so far. So many of you will probably recall that Global Initiative started many years ago, 2006. We started as a firm that focused on communication. It facilitated dialogue between multilateral agencies, regulators, and corporations. Our agenda was really simple. We wanted to drive corporations to be more sustainable, more responsible. And over a period of time, we've actually had the benefit of receiving support from a very large number of individuals. Some of those you can see on screen up there. It's a pretty eclectic mix, from film stars, from people who've been in government, people who've been at the top of government or multilateral agencies. So you can see that this is a subject that strikes a chord in many a heart. Now, the Sustainable Business Awards actually started 6 years later, in 2012. And they started in Indonesia, as was mentioned earlier. And perhaps the SBAs, when I look around, are the only sustainability dedicated awards platform which is run by a sustainability company. So it is unique in that respect. Normally you have sustainable awards that are an adjunct to corporate awards or are run by organizations that may not entirely be dedicated to sustainability, but the SBA is only about sustainability. We hold them in about 5 markets as of now, those are mentioned up there. We're hoping to expand that network to include more markets. And more importantly, we're going to also expand the awards to have a regional overlay, which means that we probably have an ASEAN, SBA ASEAN, where country finalists can aspire to a regional aspect of recognition. Now, another distinguishing feature of the SBAs is that we don't just focus on one aspect of sustainability. We focus on at least 12. And across these 12, we feel that we cover almost all elements of sustainability. So when we do the assessment, when we do talk to companies, we actually try and look at all aspects and not just a few that perhaps are more important, and rightly so. But we think that having a comprehensive program, no pun intended, makes the program more sustainable. The objectives of the award are quite simple. We are looking for best practices. We want to identify the initiatives that companies are doing well. We want to give them a platform so that they are able to share that initiative, which can then act as an inspiration to others to follow suit. Many a times I found that sustainability has an aura around it, which encourages some people to give up even before trying, because they feel that it's a bridge too far, it's a very difficult aspect of their business, very expensive, costly, and perhaps business disruptive. But when they come across stories from their peers, where they find that it's actually not that difficult to do, in many instances companies are already doing aspects of sustainability or their initiatives are already heading in that direction. And when they find that this actually leads to competitive advantage, we find that there is a lot more initiative and energy behind those activities. Now, given the popularity of the SBAs, we've actually made significant investment in the platform to make sure that it's become even more fit for purpose, if you will. We've actually made it easy for people to participate. We've simplified the data collection exercise. But more importantly, what we've done is we've embedded descriptors in the data collection platform itself, which means that when you're completing the program, when you're completing the data collection exercise, you're also getting educated in various aspects of sustainability. Because at the end of the day, the awards are only important to the extent of the impact they make. And the other thing that we now do is that we actually provide an insights report to all participants, which allows them to compare their submission vis-a-vis the larger universe. What this does, in a manner of speaking, is it inverts the pyramid. Usually award ceremonies only benefit the winners, but the way we've reconstructed the SBAs is everybody who participates gets a benefit because they get the intelligence, competitive intelligence or otherwise, to tell them where they stand when it comes to sustainability. Now, all that in the past, let me spend a couple of minutes on our future, which I'm hoping will be something that I will get support for from all of you. Now, our core objectives are not changing. We're very much focused on helping companies become more sustainable, and that's what we will continue to do. What we are doing is we're marrying two different streams to sort of become a complementary proposition, which will be much more effective. And these two streams are sustainability know-how, which we have plenty of, and data science, because a lot of the information that we collect is difficult to provide. And using data science, we're making it easy for people to give us that information so that we can provide that feedback that they're looking for. So we've developed two new corporate propositions, which are going to address areas for large companies in aspects of their business that perhaps not received attention or as much attention in the past as perhaps the other areas. So a lot of companies have a supply chain and they have employees, which are very big components of their operation. And we're really focusing on these two aspects to see how we can help companies create a much higher degree of sustainability, energy, and momentum in these two areas. So if you look at the first program, which is on the left, we call it the Corporate Sustainability, the First Mile, because we really help companies take their first mile, or take their first step into sustainability. It's really about helping a large company assess the sustainability preparedness of their supply chain. And the supply chain, as we know, is usually made up of small and medium enterprises. And therefore, what we really want to do is get these small and medium enterprises to come up the curve and not worry about sustainability being something that's just meant for large corporations. So what we've done is we've developed a sustainability assessment framework, which is designed for small companies, which means that it doesn't entirely rely, or almost doesn't rely on publicly available information. It relies on information that companies share with us. We validate that information with support and documentation. So we've worked very closely with PwC to understand what kind of assurance and assessment sort of data collection practices that you can use to identify outliers, to identify how you need to probe more in areas to make sure that the information that you're being provided is robust and reliable. But what we also do is we don't compare these respondents with any esoteric standard. What we do is we actually compare them with each other. So we use peer comparison as a means to drive the sustainability momentum. So for lack of a better word, every respondent who submits to the program will share information about their sustainability initiatives. They actually don't really share sustainability initiatives, because if you don't need a sustainability professional to provide us that information. We just ask them information on their operations, different aspects of their operation, and we compartmentalize that into the various elements of sustainability as we know. And what we do is we compare that with the best practice in that sector. So as a result, what happens is that every respondent then receives a score. We call it the Singapore Sustainability Index. They receive the index score, they receive a gap analysis between best in class, and you can choose your comparator, whether you want to be comparing yourself with the first quartile, second or third quartile, depending on your level of comfort. And we also identify a suggested action plan based on some of the activities that your peers or the respondents' peers are actually doing. So in many instances, we find that the small companies see this as the first sustainability report that they've ever seen. Once they get this report, they can choose to actually take action, and then this opens up a vista of green finance and many other areas that they might choose to use this information for. And peer comparison, I think, is important, because you can define the problem, but you also have to define the solution. And if the solution is seen to be more difficult than the problem that you're defining, then you're going to lose your audience. And because the action plan that we offer is based on PR practices or best practices which make companies more competitive, we find that they look at this program in a slightly different light. They don't just see it as a sustainability program, but they see it as a program that helps them become more competitive in their particular sector. And also there's an element of continuous improvement built in, because if you're comparing with the best, by definition the best never stays still. So every year when you do this exercise, you find that the standards are getting lifted, because the people who are at the top of the curve are always going to try and stay there, and they do that by improving their standards. I'm delighted to share that this solution that I've just spoken about was adjudged as the winner in the recently concluded MAS Run Global FinTech Accelerator, which attracted participation from across the globe. I think there were several hundred entries, where the MAS then had a panel of judges who assessed these new ideas on the basis of innovation, impact, and scalability to see whether they could sort of drive the green finance agenda. And we're one of the few Singaporean companies that have actually won this award. So that gives us a huge momentum. We're running a pilot with the FinLab, and we're hoping to run a pilot with the Singapore Business Federation early next year, and that agreement's already in place. The other solution that we have is also for large companies, but it focuses on a very different set of people. It focuses on corporate employees. Many companies want to do community outreach, and we felt that a more effective way of doing it would be through their employees, by educating their employees on sustainability, because this has a force multiplier impact, because this information can then be carried back home to children, to communities, and can really get embedded in society. So what we've really done is created a program which allows large employers to educate their staff on sustainability with a bias towards personal action. Now, without wanting to sort of cast any shadows on anyone, I spent a lot of time, nearly 20 years, with a very large company, which is very well known for its practices and its sense of responsibility towards towards society. But in the 20 odd years that I was with this company, I can't remember a single occasion where I was given insights that I could use as an individual to become more sustainable. And I think this is a feedback that many share. I'm not alone in this aspect. So what we've done is we've created a program which has a 11-module multimedia curriculum, which actually educates people about sustainability and what they can do in their personal lives to become more sustainable. We've also embedded a carbon footprint calculator. Both the curriculum and the calculator have been developed by Global Initiatives. So what an individual can do as an employee, they can go through the journey and see what kind of impact this is making. And the information that we are collecting, both for the supply chain program and the corporate employee program, can get aggregated at the corporate level. So that the corporates can then get a sense of what the trends are within the supply chain or within their employees, what are some of their shared problems, so that they can actually address those problems. And they can also report it externally. So this kind of creates a bit more, I would say, life into sustainability reporting, because what you're really doing is talking about initiatives that are actually helping their sort of immediate environment. I can go on and on, but I'll stop here. I look forward to working closely with all of you to get these initiatives off ground. We need all the support that we can get. And also in playing a part in establishing Singapore as a center of excellence for sustainability, which is I think collectively something that we all aspire to. So let me close now by thanking you all again. And may I now invite the Minister on stage to please share her thoughts with us. Ms. Graceful.